Antlers, new horror film out in theaters, directed by Scott Cooper, starring Kerry Russell and Jesse Plemons. It's based on a short story called The Quiet Boy, which I've read after the movie and I have to say is quite excellent. You can check it out on the internet for free. Now, I really don't want to give away too much of the story because I think that the way it unfolds in the movie itself is pretty amazing. So, just the very basics, the outline. The story takes place in a small town in rural Oregon. Mountains, forests, a big lake. It definitely feels like one of those places where humans are just on the edge of nature. Julia is an elementary school teacher. We learned that she grew up in town, then she left for years and only recently came back, clearly with some emotional baggage of her own. One of her students, a boy named Lucas, catches her attention because the boy seems kind of malnourished, kind of shy, like there might be something wrong at the house and he might be needing some help. Julia starts investigating together with her brother Paul, the sheriff, and well, it turns out things quickly get out of hand, and some of the locals believe that the terrible things that begin happening around town may have to do with the legend of the Wendigo, the evil forest spirit who can possess other creatures and infect them with cannibalistic hunger. That's as much as I'm saying, because more would spoil the joy of discovering the story yourself, and I think that's done quite well. The other thing that's well executed is the atmosphere that the movie creates. It's one of those horror films that doesn't rely on jump scares, and in fact isn't terrifying so much as it is creepy and unnerving. It has this air of sorrow, of hopelessness among the people of the town, and then when things start going wrong, it kind of feels inevitable and unescapable and unstoppable. And again, there aren't really moments which make you jump in fear. There's exactly one jump scare throughout the entire film, but this atmosphere crawls under your skin. I also thought that the Wendigo design is absolutely top-notch. In fact, I've been waiting for a good Wendigo movie for some time now, because I always felt that that's such an interesting kind of monster, and we always just seem to have zombies and vampires and ghosts and demons recycled over and over, just the same stuff. The Wendigo here feels fresh and mysterious and pretty terrifying in its mythology as well. And it looks great. At the beginning it seems like the movie is just going to tease us with this, never actually pulling the trigger. But then it does. It really goes all out with the body horror and creature design in the final act. But here's what I like the most. The fact that outside of the surface horror layer, which in itself is competent, as I'm saying, the movie is also, or rather is primarily, a huge metaphor for child abuse. In this way, in being one big metaphor, the film actually reminded me of The Babadook, which I also loved. The way that Lucas's story is framed and viewed from Julia's perspective, who herself, as we learn through tiny glimpses, is also a victim of child abuse. That was great. And so the Wendigo is actually supposed to represent various forms of abuse that children can suffer at the hands of their parents. I liked how this angle works very elegantly with the idea of the curse being passed down in some circumstances, and the way that for Lucas all the fucked up things that are happening are still somewhat acceptable and even normal because it's his family. That is the thing that the movie adds. It wasn't in the short story, but I think it really adds another dimension to the story and makes it even more amazing. The trade-off is that the ending is changed quite significantly, and the short story is much more terrifying and gut-wrenching in that regard. But the same thing wouldn't have worked with the abuse angle, so I get why the ending is different, and I think it fits the film version of the story. All in all, I really enjoyed Antlers. I think it delivers on both layers, the literal one with a scary monster and the metaphorical one with the child abuse. And it's one of those really well thought out adaptations where it takes the source material, but it makes changes and it adds things that make more sense for the movie, in turn making it a very interesting story in its own right, even if it's different. For me, it's a fantastic film.